Says I'm live. I think I'm live. Hi guys. Can anybody hear or see me? Wait, where's my phone so I can see? Oh, hold on. Let's see. There we go. Crystal. Hold on. Okay. Remember, you guys, if you can, to chat with me on YouTube instead of Patreon. That way I can see everything all at once instead of having to look down at my phone. Hold on, let me see. I'm gonna put this over here and this up here. I can see myself here. Kristen! Hi! Hi! Okay, I still have, let's see. Let me go over here. Hi! Okay, let's see. Let me make sure, and you can hear me okay, right? Hold on. Hi, Anna. Okay. Samantha. Crystal. Okay, so I have this open just in case. I have my Patreon app open just in case. Carol. Hi. Oh, so exciting. Okay, I got it right this time. You guys, I thought I wasn't going to be as nervous, but I kind of am. And I said I was going to have my coffee, but I definitely made tea because coffee would have made me way too live. So I don't know if you can tell, but I'm in a different place. We spent today. Hi. We spent the day hanging out with the grandparents. So I set up my little shop over here, and everybody is kindly hanging out in the basement area so that I can talk without feeling too nervous. But I know they're in there listening to me. Let's see. Oh, she had a meltdown? Wait, hold on. Let me turn this over a little bit more so I can see everybody's comments. Oh, you're so sweet. Don't be nervous. I wish. That would be nice if the nerves weren't there. It would be so nice. But that's okay. That's okay. I'm okay. Hey, girl. Hey, cousin. Oh, this is so exciting. I feel like I should give maybe a minute more or so before I really start to get into it. Oh, I know how that is. Bedtime is so interesting. And I always tell my kids, like, if I were you, I would totally be rushing to bed. Like, don't you want to go to sleep? Aren't you tired? So, okay. I got all my stuff set up next to me. My mom let me move furniture around and such so I could properly set up my lights and things. She let me move her plant over here. So, yeah. Hi. Oh, yay. Okay. Okay, Deshawn is over here still. Let me make sure everything's okay, guys. Thank you for your patience. Oh, no, she's here. There she is. Okay. Told the kids they could stay up and watch a movie. I wish they would pay attention to that instruction. Okay. All right, guys. So does everybody have out their planners and things? I even made little notes on the side. Let me open up my notes so that I can make sure I address the things that I want to address. Let's see. There we go. AJ. Hey, girl, I didn't respond to your message yet, and I totally needed to. So I will. Okay, let's see. All right, so I'm ready. First, I figured I'd start with a little bit of house notes. the first things first is the giveaway winner. I know I was supposed to announce that yesterday. I didn't, because Brian was supposed to be collecting all of your names into a little jar so the kids and I could pick a winner. And he hasn't quite gotten to that yet, but it's coming. It's coming, you guys. I am still working on the book year. I must admit, it is a lot more information than I thought it was going to be. So it's coming along. But I just wanted to be as thorough as possible to give everybody, to get all of my ideas and the things that we are doing at home out to be more helpful for you when you actually download it. So let's see. What else did I want to say? There you go. Okay. And then the last thing is that I know I said I was going to get a photo of my actual plans up so that you could see what I was talking about. And I didn't do that. So I'm really sorry, but I am going to do it as soon as we get off. I'll do it so that you can reference it so you can see what I had going on. This is really weird. I wish I could actually hear you guys talk to me as well, but that's okay. That's okay. All right. Those were my house notes. Oh, and then also I'm working on doing a welcome survey and sending that out to everybody as well. There's like some bits of information I would like to get from everybody so that I can just kind of go through and figure out how I can be most helpful. So that is coming as well, a little survey. All right, now I can move along in my notes. Okay. All right, so I have my planning page. A lot of you have asked about this. Just in case you don't know, this is one of the pages. This is included on your site. That is through my blog that you got a login information to. This is included, this weekly planning page. This is what I do at the beginning, for the beginning of the month. I generally plan as heavy as possible on this page, and then I fill in the other weeks as I go along. So I hope that makes sense. So I start with this week. It's double-sided, so this will be the first week, the second week, and then one more page will give me the third week and the fourth week, which will make 2 pages, a total of 1 month, give or take. You know what I'm trying to say. So I normally start off the month with just this page full of things, and then I fill in the rest of them as I move along. The login info, so that should have been in your welcome email. So if you didn't get a welcome email, I've had a couple of people have issues with it coming into their inbox. If you message me on Patreon, I can make sure I send it to you on Patreon if you haven't gotten your welcome email. So I'll do that as soon as we're done here. So let's see. What did I want to catch you up on? So I didn't plan as heavily at the beginning of this month for the first week of February because we're doing a math boot camp. And because we're doing the math boot camp, I just kept it light on some other things. So I wanted to explain the math boot camp a little bit. So the bottom line is that whenever I'm struggling in a certain area with a certain child, I try my best to focus on what that child needs and make it as fun as possible. And normally it's either in the language arts department or the math department. Most of the time it's math because it's probably the area that I have the most struggles with, in particular with my oldest, because he's like my guinea pig. So the other 2 are just a lot easier to move along in homeschool with. He's the one I try everything out on, first. So a lot of times I feel a little bit less secure with him, trying to figure out if I'm doing things right. So the last few weeks, I think I said in my last planning, live planning session that I had some struggles with him working through math. And so I wanted to do some assessments And that was what we did throughout those last couple of weeks, just kind of assessing where he is with math, where we're struggling, and what could use some focus or attention. So I did that. I assessed him, tried to figure out, okay, where am I dropping the ball? I realized that I needed to do some more multiplication and division fluency. I needed to work on some early algebra things with him, some geometry things that I know we had gone over in the past that he was kind of struggling remembering or retaining. And so whenever I have situations like that where he's looking at me and I'm looking at him and I'm like, don't you know this? And he's like, well, did you teach me? That's when I just know I need to slow it down. So because of that, I decided to do another math boot camp. So that's what February for us is going to be all about. So I'm still going to run through all of our plans and you'll see how it's still all going to make sense, but it's going to have a focus on what we're doing for math. When I've done math boot camps in the past, I drop everything. I drop everything else. So I drop all language arts and whatever other subjects we normally cover. This time around, I am learning that I don't have to do that. I don't have to drop the other subjects. I just have to shift my focus. So when I go through each subject, I will kind of go over that. I feel like I'm talking too much. Do I need to answer some questions? Or something? Are you guys still there? Molly, hi Molly, hi Jessie. Oh yeah, okay. You guys are still there. All right. Okay. So the very first thing I will start with then, I did collect some questions that I wanted to answer as I move along. So I'm going to do that as well. If you have any other questions or you want me to talk about a certain thing, please let me know. Okay. As you can see on the weekly planner page, the top thing that I have is Bible. So I mentioned this in the last, okay, I'm doing good. Okay. I mentioned this in the last video that I typically start with reading, language arts, and math. That way, if I get overwhelmed or I have to move on or I'm taking too long, at least I know I got those things accomplished. Those are my main priority, is to get that stuff planned, and then everything else can kind of fall into place. So I start there. But for the sake of following along in my little planning page, I'll go ahead and touch on Bible really quickly. For Bible, you guys know that our main resource is just the Bible, you guys. And this time around, I have some scriptures listed. So Proverbs 16:32, Proverbs 12:18, and 2 Peter 1 and 3. How I addressed Bible this time around, our church in our, oh my goodness, I just lost the name of it. Children's church. At church, for children's church, they moved over to a new curriculum, which they're all really excited about. And I seem to be pretty impressed with the way that they've laid it out. It's all about whole family learning, just circling from the church to the family to the table, that whole deal. And I was really impressed with it. And I want to make sure that I am working with them instead of, not really against them, but just working with them. So what they sent home were these little packets. So they basically tell you what they're going to be covering on Sunday, which is great because then I can just look over it and make sure I'm reinforcing it at home. So instead of doing my own thing, this week is the Homeschool Weekly Checklist printable. Yes. Is it printable? Yes. Yes, it's a printable on the, when you log into the site, it should be listed there underneath weekly printable, I'm pretty sure. Okay, wait. Let me get through this and then I'll answer those questions. So that was what I did. I went through and read what they were going to be covering for the next 2 weeks, and then I included it in my plans to cover during our Bible time of the day. It was just that simple. because I want to make sure I'm working with them and not against them. So that was Bible. Now I'm going to move on to reading. It is our book year, so the reading things are very important. There, I just list what we are currently reading. For Cameron, well, I'll start with my read aloud. Hold on, let me see. A bit off subject, but I'm working through a reading curriculum with my daughter for the MoFat girls as well as the Good and the Beautiful Language Arts primer. Okay. Seems a bit redundant, but I'm afraid to miss anything. How do you fit it in? Okay, I'll answer that. I feel like what I have looks different than what you're reading. What does it say at the top? What does it say at the top of your printable? It should say Homeschool Weekly Planner, but I think there are 2 pages that say Weekly Planner at the top. So you may have just needed to print out both of them. And then let me know what it says at the top so I can try to troubleshoot it. Because right underneath the weekly planner, it should say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Just let me know. Okay. All right, so let's talk reading. We moved on from My Father's Dragon, the 3-book series, and we are going to be reading The 100 Dresses. So this is going to be my read aloud. Monday through Friday. It does say just Monday through Friday. The Homeschool Weekly Planner does say Monday through Friday. That's the same one that I am. Oh, I think I know what you're saying. So there's no subject on this. Is that what you're saying? So I left the subject off of you guys. Oh, I know what I did. I left the subjects off just in case your subjects were different than mine. Okay. I missed that mark. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. So maybe I'll go ahead and add mine if you want to follow mine as well. But I just left the subjects off because I know everybody does different things. Okay, so I'll make sure to add this one too. So at the top of mine, it starts with Bible and then it moves on to reading, language arts, and math. So I'm going to cover those first then. Okay, I'm so sorry. Okay, so the 100 Dresses is what we're reading all together. And I'm going to talk schedule in a second too, just to cover up when we're reading certain things. For Cameron, he is still reading the Wollstonecraft Detective Agency. He's about halfway through this one. This is his 2nd book. And then Kendall has moved on from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. He said he wants to stick with Ronald Dahl. So he's reading George's Marvelous Medicine. I've never read this, so I'm probably going to have to jump in with him and read along. But he wanted to do that one next. And then Savannah is going to be reading Heartwood Hotel, A True Home. So this one is a little bit more challenging for her. So she's not quite reading it as independently as she has been the other one. So mommy's going to help her a little bit just in case she gets a bit tired with this one. But this is covering what we are going to be reading together and individually. So after I decide what I'm doing for reading, then I move on to language arts. And I think I had a note that I wanted to talk about. I had a question that I wanted to address. And let me read your question. Okay. You love 100 Dresses? That's good. I've never read it, so this will be a first for me. That's a good idea. I found some plans to use as a family to ensure consistency. We're growing together. I can share what I found to plan for the next 3 years if you're interested. Yes, I am. I always like to have different ideas on deck just in case something that I'm using, there's a gap somewhere or I'd like to try something different. So I would love that. My son just did Charlie and Chocolate Factory. He does lap books and book reports after his literature study. That's awesome. Yeah, we do book reports too in the form of book notes. So you guys know that too, which I'll share more about that in a moment. Okay. And then my question under the reading section. So I pulled a lot of you guys' questions over from Patreon that I said, I think I answered some of those things, but I also wanted to just kind of talk about them because it's easier to get my point across if I can just chit chat my way through it, right? This one was about using the Good and the Beautiful pre-K and kindergarten as a supplement to their core curriculum. Okay. This one is about specifically the Good and the Beautiful's curriculum and their stance on twaddle. And she mentioned that you're a Christian and you believe that they should be able to read twaddle and to form their own thoughts and opinions about. Okay, so the question was, how do you deal with the Good and the Beautiful stance on twaddle, or do you just skip those parts? Okay. So I'm sorry if you don't use the Good and the Beautiful. So I'm not going to stay on this for long. The short answer is that if I'm uncomfortable with anything or I don't 100% agree with something, there are two ways that I go about it. I either skip it or if I feel like it is appropriate, I use it as a talking point with whichever kid it's appropriate for. So it may go completely, some conversations may go completely over Savannah's head, but Cameron is very well able to listen to thoughts about a certain thing. So I use them as teaching opportunities. I'll say, well, how do you feel about that? You know, how do you feel about not being allowed to read a certain thing? Or do you think it would be okay to read this sometimes? I think that they're really good talking points to be able to see where they are and see how they're reasoning through things. So I do one of two of those things. So I know that a lot of people have issues with it. I've said this before with curriculum. I'm looking for a certain thing. So a lot of times I don't see the negative things. If I see things I don't love, just move on. If it bothers you a lot, then it might not be the best fit and it might be ruining your flow. I get that. But how I feel about twaddle is that I don't want to say a balance, but everything requires assessment, right? I think that you can't have too much of it. And I think some of it is, may not be appropriate for a specific child, for a certain child. That sounded rambly, didn't it? But what I'm saying is some kids can handle some things, some can't. A lot of potty talk and things like that, I don't love, but I don't know if you're, I don't know. I try to pick things that we would enjoy reading, and I go from there. If you're the best parent for them, if you feel like it's not okay for them to read a certain something, then don't have them read it. But if you feel like it's okay, then, just try not to be offended by it and read it. So, I don't know. That's the best I got. So let me move on. I think, when your own child influences that. Yeah. I think we have to be careful because sometimes I can see how maybe it could be a little bit offensive if you really enjoy those things. I'll give you a perfect example. I really enjoyed Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief when I was younger, but I do understand that it has some things in it now that when I look at it from a parent's perspective, I'd be like, I don't know about that. So I think you have to pay attention to your child and to what you want to expose them to, and you have to make the best decision for you. So, okay. Now, language arts. I personally don't think we fully understand. Okay. I'll read that in a second. Language arts. So, because it is my math boot camp, I want to be clear. I'm not stopping everything in homeschool. I'm just highlighting math as much as possible. This is how I feel about math and language arts, okay? What it boils down to for me with language arts is that it's all about learning how to be a good communicator. That's how I see it. This could be wrong, but just bear with me for a second. To me, language arts is about learning how to write in different ways, and learning how to read um, different pieces of literature or different articles or whatever else there is. It's simple, writing and reading, and they're forms of communication. That's how I put it to my kids. When we learn about nouns and verbs and different adverbs and adjectives and things like that, it makes our writing more exciting, you know? And so that if you have a certain idea in your head or a story in your head or a different idea or opinion on something, and you want to write the White House, or you want to write a book series or anything like that, you want the tools to be able to do that. And so that's how I kind of break down language arts to them so that it makes a bit more sense. For math, I let them know that math is all about problem solving. You know, math will help you solve some problems. It's about using parts of your brain and growing in those areas so that when you come across different problems, you're able to use the brain that God gave you to solve those problems. And that's how we approach math. Does that make sense? So that is our focus with Math Boot Camp. I just kind of like highlight that thing, that we're going to be pointing out the different pieces of math that we use in everyday life and in all the subjects that we're going to learn throughout school, right? Okay, so for language arts, it's not that I'm going to toss it aside. What I do, and I really hope that you're going to follow what I'm trying to say, I'll give you this. So let's start with Savannah. So with Savannah, I use The Good and the Beautifuls, course book level K and level 1. Just because I am following along in here, how do I want to say this? Because I get this question quite often. And this is actually a schedule question. Okay, somebody said it makes sense. Okay, because I feel like I'm all over the place. Let me slow down. I get the question often about how we do the block schedule with language arts and math. Okay, so we do a 4-day school week. So we're doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. On Monday and Wednesday, we handle language arts. Language arts is our focus on those 2 days. On Tuesday and Thursday, math is typically our focus on those 2 days. The reason why I do that is because when I was trying to do, you know, this subject, math, language arts, this subject, every day, I was skipping around way too much. And it wasn't a good flow for us. And I found myself, we would get into a language arts lesson and they'd love being there. And then trying to push them along to math, I just felt like it was not as productive. So I felt like we needed more space to be able to deal with whatever we are learning in that particular area. That was why I decided to do the block for language arts and math. And it's been the best decision ever. Now, just because I only focus on those two days doesn't mean that I'm not doing language arts every single day. And it doesn't mean that I'm not doing math every single day. So I'm going to try my best to explain how I do this. So for my math boot camp, instead of having the language arts block, I'm having a math block all the way across the board. Does that make sense? So whereas on Monday and Wednesday, I would move along from Bible reading and then to language arts, instead it gets substituted for math because it's our math boot camp right now. But that doesn't mean I'm not doing language arts. I still plan for language arts, and here's how I do it. Okay, I'm going to answer that in a second. Okay, here's how I do it. So for Savannah, The next section that we're on in level K is last week we worked on nouns. The last 2 weeks we were focusing on nouns with her. She is my kindergartner. She is 5. She is a really good reader, and she is able to handle the idea of a noun right now. I don't think that my oldest was necessarily able to handle that at the same age. I'm just going to throw that out there. So, but because she can handle it, we move along into that arena, if that makes sense. So the next thing that comes after that in this curriculum is the subject of a sentence. And then lesson 19 is verbs, okay? So when I look into my book, I can see that we're moving on to subjects and verbs. When I open up my language arts level 1 course book, I go straight to my next, what's it called? Post-it. And in lesson 9, I think it was, I have listed, is the job of silent E. And lesson 13 is what I also have marked, is double E, the double E sound. So from those 2 resources, I know that those are the 4 things that I would like to start to focus on with her in language arts. What I do, instead of having her fill out the worksheets or run through the lesson, is I read through the lesson myself to get an understanding of the types of questions or practice or the idea that I need to get across to her with that lesson. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, you guys? Okay, so I'm going to go back to give you an example. For this curriculum, which I use as a resource, lesson 18 says the subject of a sentence. The idea is the cat sits. What is the subject? Cat. Mom is fun. What is the subject? Mom. So I go through this myself to get a grasp of what it is that I'm trying to teach her. And then I do that thing throughout the week. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm not having her sit down and fill out the worksheets, but we're going to talk about it nonstop all week long, the subject of a sentence. So how this fits into our book year is that when we're reading our books, I'll ask her randomly, what is the subject of that sentence? Mom. What is the subject of that sentence? Cat. You see what I'm saying? So she's learning that thing. And at a certain point, sometimes I might have her just random time, like before dinner, she'll want to do schoolwork, or when she says she's bored, you know, I'll say, hey, why don't you do this, you know, and she might fill that out. So I'm still covering language arts, you guys. I'm very much so still covering it. I'm just not having her fill out the worksheet completely all the time. Does that make sense? So I have listed on my language arts section that she's going to be starting by covering lesson 18, which is subjects and verbs. And then in the level 1, she's going to be covering the double E sound and silent E. So I know that this is how I'm going to teach her those things. I hope that made sense. Okay. So that is what I have listed. Lesson 18, subjects and verbs, and lesson 13 and 9, double E, silent E. I start there. And then depending on how we move along, we may spend all week going over that thing until she gets it. If she gets it totally by Wednesday, I'll move on to the next lesson. Does that make sense? Okay. So for the boys, I do the same thing. So I grabbed level 3 and I grabbed level 4. And I go to my next section. So, and I'm going to talk about this in a second because I got this question as well. So lesson 41 is the next thing that we're going to be working on, which is conjunctions and compound sentences. And then in level 4, now, I've said this in another video. Level 4 is a little different in the good and the beautiful because instead of them laying out specific topics that they cover, is a lot more literature heavy, which is so good if that's the way you roll. If you just are following the curriculum, it's so good. For us, it's a challenge because of how much literature we're getting in on a daily basis. So I don't always have them cover that. But in this case, this particular one I really liked. So I pre-read it. I read it myself first, and I decided that it's something I wanted them to go ahead and cover. So they talk about, and I love the way that they list it in, I love a lot of the talking points or the things they have the children read in the Good and the Beautiful's curriculum. So here it says, during this stage of your academic development, one of the best things you can do is read a lot of well-written, worthy literature. So in this course, you will spend the majority of your time reading, reading, reading. This will help you in many ways. And then she goes through the ways that it would help. If there's something in there that, not that I, maybe I didn't feel like it was appropriate, or maybe I felt like it wasn't necessary, I just take a something, highlighting tape or something, and cover that part up so that they don't read that part, or I may address it just to throw it in there. But so that is lesson 9 there. So I'll have them cover that, and then I know that we're going to cover conjunctions and compound sentences. So knowing that information, this is where like IXL and random pages in our workbooks will come into play. If I find a section on conjunctions or compound sentences, most of the time, I'm not having them fill out the worksheets themselves. I'll use them to ask them questions myself. Okay, I think I've talked enough. Let me see if you guys have any questions, if I'm making sense. Okay. Okay, making sense. Okay. I've been digging deeper, one concept at a time. Okay, it makes sense. Okay, makes sense. The zone staying there, I am completed. Become quickly. Perfect, since I do the same thing on Sundays for the upcoming week. Okay, yep, you're still combining. Okay, so you are combining the good and the beautiful Kinder and the first for Savannah, and 1 lesson a week. Okay, so to answer that specifically, yes. She's doing the Kinder for the good and the beautiful and the level 1. And do we do 1 lesson a week? Pretty much. I guess if you had to have an answer, I would say yes, 1 lesson a week. Sometimes we stay on that 1 lesson for as long as we need to. Sometimes we move through it super fast. Like nouns, that was nothing for her. So we moved on. We pretty much stayed on nouns for well, I probably could have moved completely on a lot faster. If I feel like they're grasping the concept, then I keep it moving, and I might put a mark somewhere that lets me know to come back to it just to check on them and make sure they actually retained it. But yes, in general, maybe 1 lesson a week. Okay, the curriculum is a guide, a goal. Yes, that is how I use it. I don't think she does a lesson. She's so okay. So Molly mentioned, I don't think she does the lesson. She's make sure. Yes. So my main goal is that they grasp the concept, but they actually do complete the lessons. It's just the way they complete it. And I'm going to answer that a little bit more to answer this other question that I had. And I also want to say, okay, wait, I'll say this first, and then I'll say that. Okay. So one of the questions that I got, Tanya, yes. Was it you? Yes, it was. I think it was talking about knowing more about how we school the boys together. Okay, so schooling the boys together. So my boys have strengths that lend themselves to one another. I'm going to take a moment to talk about it because I think that this really could apply to a lot of us who are homeschooling different grade levels, but grade levels that are close to each other. Not even if they're not close to each other. But so my boys have different sets of skills. And I use them to play on one another. My younger son is an exceptional speller. His language arts grasp is incredible. My older son is not as quick in the spelling department. So I put them together. Because the more that his brother has a huge influence on him, and he's helped him tremendously um, in learning to differentiate letter blends and sounds and things like that, and grasp the spelling rules. So yeah, they fit well together. So I'll give you an example. So when I schooled them together, so even though my younger son is incredible in language arts, he's still 7. I mean, well, he's 8 now. He's still 8, and he has a 7, 8-year-old attention span. So I still have to make things fun and exciting for him, even though he may be spelling words like exasperate or whatever else. I still have to make it fun and exciting. So using both of their strengths and weaknesses, weaker spots, I find a way to fit into that groove. How can I say this? Okay, I'll just leave that there for a second. Now, with that being said, most people think that even if it sounds a little all over the place, it's a great thing. And it is. It really is a great thing. I feel like it is my strength in homeschool to be able to do that well. At the same time, one of the downfalls that it causes me, and I'm just saying this because I want to be very honest here, is I struggle with how it translates onto paper. I still want them to be able to fill out worksheets well, and without being too confused or frustrated. And sometimes that is a challenge because they will go and read a worksheet and they overcomplicate it. They are very capable of the information. They are beyond their years in a certain area. But when it comes down to trying to figure out what they're trying to ask them to do on a worksheet, sometimes they struggle. And so that is why we still do complete the worksheets to make sure that they can understand what they're being asked to do and follow the instructions well. So that is something I have to make sure that I am still doing with them so that it's not just completely over their head if they have to sit down and take a test or try to figure out what this worksheet is asking them to do. So I hope that made sense. I think I need to move along, don't I? Don't like to sit and okay, Jesse says we don't like to sit and fill out workbooks all day. So this is great. I have a problem with being afraid I'll miss something or she won't get something, but I think this month I'll try. Yeah, I get what you're saying. So one of the things that I do quite a bit is I take notes. If they're struggling with something, I take notes and I don't let it trip me up. Because I used to think like, oh my gosh, I'm missing things. What I'm doing is not right. I'm not working in the correct order. And then I would just go down a not good lane. But what I've learned to do is if there's something that I pinpoint that they're not good at while we're moving along, I take note of it. And I keep a list of that thing until I feel like it's the right time to address it. Does that make sense? So I'll give you an example with math. So we're moving along in math. Everything is going great. My oldest and I get to a couple of lessons where he's completely like, Mom, no. Instead of getting really frustrated, I breathe and I write down what it is we're stumbling on. I take a list along the way. I don't stop the whole program right away. If you notice, last time we had this live chat, I said that I was doing math assessment. So I spent a whole month assessing him and writing down the things that he was struggling with. So I didn't stop everything. I didn't get super overwhelmed and frustrated. I just took really good notes and took a list of the things he actually was struggling with. From that list, then I compiled what I wanted to get accomplished in math boot camp. So now we're going to take this month to focus on those particular things just to strengthen him in those areas. I feel like it's a good solution for us because if you're working with curriculum and you go backwards, you kind of feel like you need to go back, and then you start to repeat things they don't need to repeat. You know what I mean? So that really works out well for me. Okay. So math boot camp. Let me see. How long is your school day usually? Okay, that's a good question that I think I can answer now. So in the past, I really haven't been able to answer that question because I feel like when the kids are younger, some days are just never ending. Some days I get half of it done in here, and then somebody becomes whiny, and then I'm finishing stuff at night. It was just all over the place and just hard to give a good idea. So I would just always say we school all day long because it's the truth. I really am. But now that the kids are 5 and up, I'm able to implement a more strict, not strict, but more of a schedule that is kind of more like a routine. But so we start at 8 and we're typically done with all of the things that I prepared around 3:30. And I know that seems long. I know there's a lot of people that go from like 8 to 12, 7 to 12, something like that. But we need that time. I like the way the time is laid out. The kids we don't sit down and just complete worksheets and move on. And I think that's why our day is longer. My kids really get into stuff. I mean, when we cover language arts, I mean, we are covering language arts. You know, when we cover science, we are covering science. They're grabbing their notebooks. They're taking their own notes. We're taking videos and stuff. So we're a bit extra about it. So it takes us a little longer. I think if we were completing a curriculum and going through worksheets, we would be getting through it a lot faster, but we don't. So we just do around 7:30, 8 o'clock, 8:30, somewhere in there, till around 3:30. What was the next question? Okay. How do you know what to teach from? Do you just randomly pick to teach from the first? Okay, let me go back to that one. You may have already answered this, but do you do the same thing for the boys also? Yes, I do the same thing for the boys. It sounds like their kids are too smart for all kids. I think worksheets, but worksheets are good. They're good. I just think it's the way that we use them. That at least I'm convinced. All over the place. Yes, your friend is all over the place. Okay, boot camp sounds like an amazing idea. I think that the pressure of always moving forward can hinder us from learning the way that's best for each child. I agree with that wholeheartedly, and it's hard. It's something you really just have to kind of, push through, is learning how to pace yourself. Also, I normally don't speak on that too much because I am in an area that allows me the space to be able to make those mistakes and stumble through nicely. I do understand that certain states have more strict rules and regulations and testing and things that you have to follow in homeschool. I get that. But I think that that's the really cool thing. I feel like I'm in the place that I am homeschooling where I am, and it gives me the space to have creative ideas and share with other people. So that is part of the reason why I feel really pumped about this space, is because I do get that you need to get some things checked off the list. I get that. But it's a lot more simple, I feel like, than it feels or it seems. And so that's what I'm trying to share, if I'm making any sense. But okay, I wish I could show you the after video, schooling them together. I'm gonna try my best. So quickly, I took a concept that they're both working through. It works so well to school kids together, even to have now both of my boys actually will give quizzes and tests to Savannah, and it's the best thing ever. Like, and she learns so well from them. I just think that it's such a benefit to having them work together as a team and to play on one another's strengths and weaknesses. I really think it's an awesome thing. I feel like I've been rushing the kids through lessons to just be done and not allowing them time for exploration and discovery. That happens because we just out here trying, right? Like, we're all out here just trying and trying not to mess up. I get that. But I think that the more you try different things, the more you slow yourself down, and fight that need to check things off the list. And the more you see them get things, it'll give you what you need to just say, you know what, I'm okay, I'm on the right. And then just to try a little bit more and try a little bit more. Okay, now I'm going to stop for a second and get back. So now I'm on math, right? Okay, I'm on math. I have my math boot camp. I imagine that my math boot camp is probably going to last a whole month, because I really want to just have a lot of fun and really drive through those topics that we were struggling through. And I need to give us space to be able to do that. So my main goal with Savannah is to just work on her addition and subtraction fluency. And she's going to get intro to multiplication. We're going to do plenty of other things, but that is my starting point. That is what I'm going to start with her. Oh, wait, I didn't show you guys. Wait. Hold on. Okay, so I showed you what I was doing for language arts, and now I'm getting ready to show you math. Hold on. Just hold on. Am I keeping everybody? Oh, wait. Am I keeping it? Okay. So I brought a few things with me. I had a suitcase out, you guys, because I was like, I can't come and talk to them without some visuals. So anyway, I have some things. I have like a whole table full of stuff. When I'm doing math boot camp, I know what my basic goal is to start with, but I shop my space, right? I go around and find all the stuff that I could use to make math boot camp fun and exciting. And I start there. And that's where my mind starts to just really kind of circle around and get creative or whatever. So I have my number tiles here. This is a lot of fun to play with, and something that's just a really nice space filler when you need it. Stuff like this is helpful for the younger kids because it gives them something to do while you're trying to answer other questions. And it's something they can play all together. So we use this in a couple different ways, and I was going to do a quick video about soon. Then I have like their cookbooks. I already had the cookbooks in the works, and I thought that I'll just make sure I play on all the measurements like big time, right? So you guys, I didn't do what we got for Christmas, but I got the kids the cookbooks and cooking supplies for Christmas. So they have their own set of like measuring cups and such. These are the cutest little measuring cups. Savannah's are pink, the boys are blue. And, you know, we have half a teaspoon, a cup, all that other stuff. This is math. If this isn't math, then I don't know what is. So I took this out, and we'll play on that while we're cooking. And I'll just make sure to highlight all those things that are math. You know, so we're solving problems. Like, how do we, I also saw this really cool post on Instagram. It was a baking page that I follow, and I just saved the post, and it was like a visual that showed you like if you were baking muffins, or it was like muffins and cookies. And if you were baking muffins, if it didn't have enough baking powder, this is what it looked like. If it didn't have enough sugar or too much sugar, this is what it looked like. Too much butter, this is what it looked like. So I saved that post because I thought that was like an amazing kind of like teaching point to show them that, you know, measurements matter. They matter. You know, if we add too much butter, our cookie's not so good. So I thought that was going to be really good, especially for Savannah, because she's really into like sweets and cookies and things like that. So that's what I mean about taking notes about your kids. I feel like when we can connect to them in that way through little things, I feel like that stuff really sticks. So that was a tangent. Was it a tangent? Okay, anyway. So I have that. I have their cookbooks. This is something that I used with the boys when they were younger. So I pulled these out. Savannah's really great with her addition and subtraction facts, but we can always be better. We can always be faster. So in my mind, even though she's really good at counting them up on her fingers, I really want to get her to know them just right away. And I think that's going to help her a ton. So I grabbed these. And I think we'll just do like a quick math game where the boys like quickly you know, go through them and see how many she can do as quickly as possible. So we'll do that. Things like this, as simple as I don't know what, but guess who will be walking all around the house measuring things, because that's math, you know? So they all have their rulers, and we'll probably just have a time during the day where we go measure everything and write them down on charts and stuff. Another thing that we're doing for Math Boot Camp is, I know you guys, I posted that video on what we did for Kendall's birthday, his birthday party. And some of the things that I got were some light up things for night school. This is just fun. So we're going to use these little finger things, and they can do their math problems on their chalk walls or whatever. I figured this would be fun to do once it got dark, just to take a few moments to just go back over those math facts that we're trying to work on, run around the house and get a little bit of that in. Not super long, you know, but just maybe before bedtime. So I have all of those things. And what did I want to say? What else did I want to say? Yes, I'm on task, I think. And then I'm going to answer some more questions. Okay. And I'm not doing too badly. I'm 7:53. Okay. I haven't been talking for as long as I thought. Okay. Another thing, when we went to the library, I found these. I only bought one because y'all know I'm not at home. But I found these. Have any of you guys seen these? Like, they're called bedtime math. I got 3 of them. But it says a fun excuse to stay up late. I thought this was really cute, and I thought I could use these with some of their little light up things. Inside, they have, like, has anybody seen them? Inside, they'll have things like this, right? They'll have a little story that goes along with it, and then they break them up into 3 levels. So one problem is for wee ones. Let me find one that they did. Let's do this one. So it says pop culture. Whether you make popcorn by heating kernels in an old-fashioned pan or by sticking a bag of them in the microwave, you get the same result. The kernels burst into white fluffs up to 16 times bigger and become something you can chew without breaking your teeth. This stuff really goes bonkers if the movie pops in giant glass boxes, piles up, and then turns toxic orange yellow when the guy behind the counter adds the butter. But regardless of the color, when it comes to successful popcorn explosions, bigger is better. And then after that, they will list the question. So for the wee ones, which is Savannah's age, if you stick your hand in the popcorn bag and pull out 10 kernels, but 3 of those kernels never pop, how many good flips of popcorn do you get? So that is for her to answer. And then I have little kids and big kids. So it's a problem that corresponds to whatever level they may be on, which I think is really cool. So I thought it would just be nice to just take one of these at bedtime and give them all a problem to solve, which is perfect, right? Because I'm always telling the kids that math is all about solving a problem, right? So I have 3 of those. And then I saw a ton of these, but I only got 3 of them. Circumference and the Sword in the Cone. So they're like math adventure books. This is the first time I had seen these, but I was like, this is perfect too. So I grabbed 3 of these, and they're just a book. It's just a book that talks about different math things, which is great. And another way that I can pinpoint the things that my oldest is understanding and things that he's like, Mom, what is even that? Okay. So let me answer some questions. And then I had a couple more things to say. Let's see. One of the benefits is working at your own pace. like osmosis. Life skills math. But I think life skills math is so important, right? I really do. Now, I did have this question. I forgot who asked me. Molly, was it you that asked me? I can't remember who asked me about why I'm not using the Good and the Beautiful's math. So I don't use curriculum for any math, if you didn't, notice, except for if you consider IXL a curriculum. And that's because I really need to connect in that area with them. to me, I just feel like math is so simple at this stage. And so I just really want the space to be able to uncover that with them. And so that's why I don't really use anything. However, the Good and the Beautiful's math K is gorgeous. It's amazing. Another reason why I'm not using it, they only have that level. And Savannah probably, it wouldn't be useful for her until she got to the end of it. So it's not worth it for me to purchase just for the end of it yet. So when they come out with level 1, it's definitely something I might look into for sure, because it's beautiful. And another reason is because sometimes I think certain curriculums have too much to read. And like I said, since I'm really interested in us reading for our book year and things like that, and we do a lot of reading in our homeschool in general, sometimes the curriculums have a little too much for them to read along with it. So for me, math is just all about getting messy and getting that math done and practicing and working your brain and things like that. So that's where I am with math right now. I've been wanting those, love those. Oh, so you guys have seen it. They have an app. I did not know. So I try to stay away from too many resources because your friend will it just be too much. But when I do come across them and they seem like a perfect fit, I am all for it. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. Because I'm almost, let's see, did I have another question over here? Okay. I would love to know if you're still doing language arts twice a week. Yes, we talked about that. I'm struggling with our schedule, trying to figure out how to provide practice time enough to obtain their skills and allow some breathable space throughout our day. I totally understand that. I think you really have to just really pay attention to their rhythm. I thought it was best for us to do only a math focus for 2 days out of the week. The rest of the time is spent practicing that thing. So we used any resources that we have to practice that thing. So if we're doing double-digit addition, you know, we learn about it on those 2 days. Everything else is a bunch of practice, you know, so random practice on the chalkboard, some practice in the workbook, some practice by searching it on iExcel. I can even get in some explanation on Khan Academy. Do you guys use Khan Academy? Definitely use that. I used it last week when I was trying to explain area to my oldest, and it did a really good job. So we learned, it explained it on there, and then after it explained it, he got in some practice on iExcel, and then we've been going at it ever since. So because area was something that I missed, we had never covered that, and so when we came across it, we actually came across it on, I showed you, oh no, I didn't show you yet, I didn't post that video yet. But for my oldest, we use for math, smiling, and they're like the smiling and shining in the second grade ones, but what are they called? It's from One Stop Teacher Shop on Teachers Pay Teachers, and they're like a morning math run through. And so he just has a set of maybe, I think it's 10 questions on Monday and Tuesday or whatever. So because we only do math on the 2 days, he does both. So he would do all of Mondays and all of Tuesdays. And one of the questions that came up was about the area of the shape. And that was when I recognized that we hadn't covered that and he didn't know what it was. So we went ahead and just, I took a note and we covered that. So let's see what else. I'm extremely interested in homeschool materials as a resource, not curriculum. Well, that's a lot of what I'm talking about. So hopefully this is helping unpacking that. I will unpack it more as I show examples. I feel like examples are just so much easier for you to see, like actually how it works instead of me trying to ramble through and tell you, but I'm trying my best. After I watched the YouTube, I ditched my normal spine for the day for a particular subject and pulled out some other resources, and we had the best time. It was amazing, super fun, and much more engaging. It is a lot of fun, and those are the moments I'm all for you guys. And I understand, I had to challenge. Sometimes I feel like you have to challenge your thinking, because I would always think to myself when I was looking to have more fun in learning with them, you know, how that other voice can say, well, not everything in life is fun and games. But now you may not agree with me, but I had to really challenge my thought process there, because I was like, well, why not? Because, you know, life is full of really interesting things, and some of things, a lot of life is very challenging, but a lot of it has to do with one of the mantras that we learned from reading The Phantom Toll Booth, which is an amazing math book if you're into that. But when we were reading the Phantom Toll Booth, one of the things he says is it's all in how you look at things. And so even though, you know, math problems can be challenging, or, you know, writing can be challenging, language arts can be challenging, you can always find a way to make it more fun and exciting. And I feel like that's okay. Not everything has to be a toy and whatever else, but you can look at it in a way that can make it more fun and exciting. And I feel like if I can, you know, develop that practice in them, then they will always, as they grow older, learn to see things, even the challenging stuff, which life is full of the challenging stuff. They could find a way to look at it in a more fun and exciting way. For us, the scripture says that we are to consider it joy if we encounter trials today. It's only for the proving of our faith that we may be fully developed and lacking nothing. It says that to consider it joy, like trials and troubles, to consider it like joyful and happiness. Like, that's okay. It's okay to, you know, I don't think you have to, even though you might have to sit down and fill out worksheets, how can you make it fun? How can you use your imagination while you're doing it and make it fun? So for me, with my kids, I try to always get into their heads and see how they can use their imagination to make the task at hand more fun. Okay, tangent. The next thing I had, another thing that we do is I use cards a lot. So if there's a certain something, for instance, conjunctions, if we are working on conjunctions, and it's something I want to drive home with them, I create a card. So maybe there's a card for nouns, there's a card for conjunctions, there's a card for subordinating, whatever. I give them a card that has that thing on it. Whenever they come up, or whenever they experience or come across that particular thing, they're part of our game. So if Savannah found a noun, mommy, noun, you know, and this will happen throughout the day. So they'll just go and grab their card, mommy, conjunction. And that's a way that we kind of get outside of the books and outside of the worksheets into real life, so they can start to identify these things in everyday life. For instance, with conjunctions, they're basically just, you know, use a word to join the two sentences together. So when they're trying to tell their stories, well, how can you take this sentence and add them together? Boom, I can use this conjunction. It makes it more exciting, or blah, 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 blah. So they have a better understanding of that when they can physically grab their cards and just kind of like say, mommy, look at this. Look what I found. This is what we were talking about. And that makes it a lot of fun and brings our days to life. So have I moved along? Unit work. Okay, let's see. Along the same line. Khan is amazing. We're using the good and the beautiful math K, and I like it, but it is so long. Yes, I get what you're saying. It doesn't have to be, though. I totally get that, which is okay, but I feel like they move on too quickly and it will take so long to catch up. The thing is that I had a long time ago, which I stopped going into chat rooms and things like that. But I had seen a lot of, you know, not criticism, but just, you know, struggles that people were having with using certain, well, the Good and the Beautiful curriculum was the one I was talking about. And they were saying that it was not holding their children's attention and things like that. I feel like, well, there's a story that I'm going to tell on a video. Should I tell it now? No, that might be too long. But anyway, I feel like whenever you come across a challenge in your curriculum, it can always be adjusted and changed. I think the biggest thing for curriculum for me is it has to fit with you. It has to be easy for you to understand so that you can teach it best to the kids. Does that make sense? So, and I'm not necessarily talking about convenience. I'm talking about it has to make sense to you, like to your brain, to your heart. It has to make sense to you, you know? That was one of the problems I had with the first curriculum that I used. It wasn't that it was a bad curriculum. It's just that when I opened it up, I was confused. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so confused. So of course it was taking me forever to try to wrap my mind around it, which meant that I wasn't well equipped to teach the kids. For me, The Good and the Beautiful speaks my language. And so I read it at night or whatever to get a grasp of what they're trying to say. And then I implement those things myself. So I think that when you come across a challenge like, oh, this is too long, then you might want to reread it ahead of time so that you can cut out the things, like cover them up with some Post-its, the things that you don't need to read, and get to the point, you know, because your child may be okay with skipping the lengthy explanations and getting right to the point. You know, if your child needs a little bit more of an explanation, then, you know, you might want to do read to the child reads to you, then they can handle that. But if not, then just eliminate those things and get to the point. Another challenge that I was having, and it wasn't a bad thing with The Good and the Beautiful, is that I felt like it wasn't as rigorous as I'd like it to have been. But I like the curriculum. I like how it lays things out for me. So that is how I use it. Once I gather what they're trying to do, I go and use those other things to help me get the rigor that I'm looking for, you know? That works for me. You may want something that just has it all in there. So you may want to search until you find that, you know? But for me, The Good and Beautiful is really easy for me to use as a resource like I do everything else. I answered that question. Unit work. Okay, unit work is really easy this time around. We do unit every day. And the reason why I decided to do that is because I thought it was a good idea. We take our time through units. They can take us forever. I think that's okay for the way that we want to explore and discover. I think that we're doing water in our world right now. For me to take a day or two to go over cohesion and move on, to me, it's just not long enough. So for me to take forever, or as long as I'd like to, trying to pull through the concepts of cohesion and adhesion and things like that, I'm fine with it. So we are just moving on to lesson 2. And you guys know how long we've been on water in our world. Which is fine, which is cool. So I have it here. But, oh, this is what I was going to show you. So we made clay models of, I was pinching over here, of water molecules. So we've gone slowly through it, and they're really grasping the concepts, which is good for me. So we made these little molecules. They have a firm understanding of an atom and a molecule. They have a firm understanding of some of their behaviors right now. For me, that's a win. And so we're just moving on to the states of water, and I'm happy with it. How we do the unit study is we move on to unit work after we finish up math. Even if it's a small amount of time, we cover what is written on the board. We talk a little about it. We let our resources kind of lead us into whatever we want to do, and then we move on. But I think that everyday exposure is really helpful for their whole exploration and discovery, you know, feeling. Let's see. Days, so you can focus on those things. Okay. You do it only Monday through Friday. Do you ever find the kids struggling to get back into it on Monday? Okay, so Anna, no, I don't, because no. I don't know how to explain it. Let's see. No, they look forward to it. Friday is normally our day to it's kind of our free day. We're not doing school. We just don't have any structure on Friday. So they kind of have a free for all. So all that stuff that I had to move them along to move to a different subject, they can get back to it. So like lately, my oldest has been really into just finishing his writing on Friday. Or we'll do things like a volcano project, or just different stuff they've been wanting to work on, but we had to move along in the school day, so they didn't get to complete it. Sometimes they finish. On Friday, my younger son wanted to finish his quiet reading time book. So he finished his Charlie and the Chocolate Factory on Friday. So they're still doing work. It's just not structured work. On Saturday, we hang with family, do other things. Sundays, church day, hang with family, do other things. And we're right back into it on Monday. Yeah, so no. Now, just because I said that doesn't mean that they don't say, oh, school. They do say that. I think kids just say that. I mean, they just say that. But at the end of the day, they're down for whatever mommy is down for. So if I'm excited and I'm ready, and I have all these ideas, now I am a little bit extra and all over the place, and my kids thrive off of extra and all over the place. So I run in their rooms and I say, oh my gosh, I had an idea. Remember how we did the molecules? Well, now we can do this. And then what do you think about doing that? Like, I am very much so that person. I get them pumped about it. You know, kids like excitement, especially from their mom. It's not always like that, you know, but I try to bring the excitement because it's exciting. For me, it's exciting to learn about new things with them and to see how they grasp different concepts and the different ideas they have. So that's the energy that I bring. Yeah. Let's see. I would love to do only Monday through Thursday. The thing about Monday through Thursday is like, give it a try. And see how it goes. That's the thing about it. It took me a while. I think that last year was probably the time, which was my 5th year, where I really got into a good rhythm. And that doesn't mean I don't make changes. It's just that more than 50% of my stuff is not changing, which means I have a good rhythm and a good flow. But change is going to happen. But yeah, change is going to happen. I'm planning an art. That's so cool. We're learning about Monet, and for music, since they're both French. Oh, that's exciting. I felt the same way. Literally wrote down, explore, and discover. Y'all know that's my thing. I felt like every time I say that on a video, somebody rolls their eyes, but that is my thing. Like, think about it. Don't you like the idea of exploring and discovering? I mean, that's what kids do. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Let's see. Do you year-round homeschooling? Yes. We school year-round. Yes. The break in the summer was too much for us, and that was mainly because I'm not how do I say this without. Well, I don't know. You'll get my heart. I'm not a busy family. I say no to a lot. So we pick like one sport here, one function here. Busyness overwhelms me. So I don't do busy. Because of that, I don't often have like busy summers and things. I like to take things low and slow. And because of that, during the summertime, I just felt like these kids need some stuff to do. This is too long. So year-round schooling works for us. And it gives me a lot of freedom. Like I said, that's why the Monday through Thursday works for us, because we actually get in more school days of work than someone who takes the whole summer off. I need space to be able to have a break in between. So it really works for us. Okay, where did I get? You guys, I'm almost at the end. Let me see. So now for my electives, I don't have too much stuff on my elective area because it's math boot camp time. So whatever we're doing in electives is related to math boot camp. But I just have written here lots of writing. I have lots of writing over here. For history here, I wrote in a few things. So you guys know we use the Good and the Beautiful's history as I guess history's fine, but a lot of the history things we're doing right now are just coming in everyday learning about different people in history. So we're not going to move on to the next lesson of history for this week. What we are going to do though, because we're focusing on math, is get into some Albert Einstein. I just looked up some great mathematicians. So we're going to talk a little bit about Albert Einstein. Found this beauty at the library so we can talk about hidden figures. This type of stuff works for my kids because like then we can uncover how her math mind or how his math mind lended itself to these wonderful discoveries in our world. Like that's the whole point. Because when we're sitting down doing math, it seems so frustrating. Like when we're trying to figure out the algebra and subtract this and do that over here, it's like, why am I doing this? You know that thing that says, no, I'm gonna get this all wrong. But basically the gist is that when you don't understand the purpose of a thing, you're more likely to misuse or abuse it. Like math is not fun when you don't understand that if you get math or if you get better and work at math, then you could possibly be a better scientist. You could be a better this, a better that. Like when they have a better understanding of why we do those things, it works better. What? Brian's lurking. Anyway, so we have those two books that we're going to work on for our history time. And because like I said, I still want to go along in our schedule. The kids have gotten used to our structure. So eliminating those things, which is something that I did in the past, is not a good go. To me, just everyday exposure to things little bit by little creates a better retention and a better sense of exploration and discovery. You can discover more, you know, if you're actually exposing yourself to those specific things. So that is why we stay on that task, even though it is math boot camp time. And for projects are basically just, which is at the bottom, because I know I didn't, but I will add that, you guys, so you guys can see what I have here. At the bottom, I have projects. So it's unit work, elective, projects. So for projects, it's just stuff I need them to get their hands into. We're going to be doing a lot of cooking, a lot of measurement, a lot of cooking, a lot of eating. It's going to be fun. And then along with that, for photography, oh, this will answer someone. I think someone else asked this question. And I'm sorry, Brian set aside all the questions for me, but he forgot to put your names because I totally wanted to be like, oh, Molly, you asked this question. But I'll do better next time. For photography, I had the question, when did you let the boys start editing and what type of videos do they do and what software or program do they edit with? So, I mean, they pretty much just started editing on their own. I edit a lot. So they see mommy edit and they want to do it. So I use Final Cut on my computer, but they use iMovie on their iPads. So we're really into, I mean, I like different apps and things, and I've changed out apps. We love doing that, but a lot of the basic apps are our favorite to use. So the calculator, the calendar, the Maps app is something we use a lot. The weather app. And then they use like iMovie and GarageBand they really enjoy using. So to me, I'd love to get into like actual music lessons and things like that. But until I get to that space, just having them open up those basic apps and just explore some stuff, you know, and discover stuff on their own is good to me. So they've been doing that for quite some time and they really impress me. So while mommy is editing, they'll be in their room editing. A lot of times they start off making like superhero movies, and then they moved on to making like basketball movies. So they'll like do their own commentating and things like that. Every now and then they'll do like imaginative stories, and that's what I'm trying to push them more towards, but I don't want to ruin their groove. So I let them superhero it out, you know. And I said they use iMovie, right? Okay, I said all that to say that for photography, what we're doing right now, we just put a pause on doing the lessons for photography because I need less things to focus on, right? Because it's math boot camp time. But for photography / video, they're going to be making their own math adventure. So they're going to be filming and editing their own math adventures. So I thought this would be like a really cool way to lead into that because we're doing like the circumference books, the math adventure books. So I thought that after reading a few of those, they could start coming up with their own math adventure, and their job or their project is to film and edit their own math adventure. That's it. I'm done. So that's pretty much all I have, and that's what we're going to start with. And then basically once we start there. I'm going to start filling in the next week with the things that leads us to. If there's something particular that I want to add to the mix, like, I don't know, if we do a Valentine's project or something, I can always, you know, jot that down and fill that in. I also wanted to talk to you guys about actually, you know, doing the records, but that would make this super long. But the gist of it is that the reason why I love doing this is that at the end, you fill in the things that you actually did. And then you go in and highlight. I make 3 copies, 1 for each child. 1 is my master copy. This is my master. And then for the other 3, I write in their names. So this would say Savannah. And then over here, I highlight in pink everything that she did. And then that goes into her record. Do the same thing for the boys. It's amazing. It is amazing. Because at the end of the day, you can see exactly what they did, how far along they got. It'll give you a better gauge on how long it takes you to work through lessons if you're doing it that route. Another thing that I wanted to show. Okay, wait, questions or comments? Year-round, 4-day week, freedom. That is us, year-round. We're homebodies, no busyness. That is me. I'm with you, homebody. Yes. Are you going to do a video on the math boot camp? Absolutely. So I had all my stuff laid out and I wanted to show you guys, but I thought, well, this would be better if I could, like, you know, use my big camera, because then you can see everything better and all that other stuff. And I'll explain it all there, everything we decided to use, and then show you guys how we used it and how much progress we made towards the end of it. A keyboard app. That piano keyboard on the iPad app is so good. Like, it's so good. And I really didn't understand how good it was until my sister-in-law is really into music. They play the guitar and the piano and things. And so when she comes around, she shows me a few things that I can then have them work on, which is amazing, which is a huge tip for me. Like, use the people around you. We all have different gifts and talents, right? And different interests. And so I'm interested in painting and video and photography, you know, but my brother-in-law is really into, like, history and things like that. So I use him for that, you know, like, call the kid and have a conversation. So I do that a lot, because your friend's not good in history and I'm not good in a lot of things, actually. So I use the stuff I'm good at, and then I try to keep the people around that are better at the other stuff, you know. But I've actually bought a real keyboard. I have a real keyboard too, but I meant, oh, the app teaches them the keyboard. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Okay, so I think that was it. I think I answered all the questions that I had listed. I went through all of my plans. Oh, there was one more thing. Did I mention about the survey that I wanted to send out? So the survey is also because I'm hoping that this is helpful. I hope you're moving along in your plans too. But the survey, I wanted to ask, you know, different things about how homeschool is going and things like that, so I could address specifics, because sometimes I feel like I may not be as effective. So help me out, y'all. Help me out. There was one more thing that I wanted to show you, that I wanted to do a better job of tracking. So I created this one. This one is on these printables as well, the weekly checklist. And the reason why I mentioned this one is I normally take really good notes myself, but I wanted to try to discipline myself to actually fill out my weekly checklist. How this one works, and I'll do a better video so you can see it better. But it lists all my subjects on the side and the days of the week at the top. And then at the bottom, it has boxes for a habit tracker and a character tracker. And then each side is 2 weeks. So I normally track 2 weeks on this side, 2 weeks on this side. So one page for one child would be a month. Does that make sense? But the reason why I use this is because when we cover certain things, I want to be able to track everything that we're moving through. I track their habits and I track their character, but most importantly, it leaves me some space to take notes. So when I take notes about things that they're interested in, questions they're asking a lot lately, that stuff really helps me figure out where I'm going next. Because I get that question a lot, like, how do you know what to teach them? There is so much out there, you know, in so many different directions you can go, but listening to their like natural curiosities, paying attention to their actual strengths and not some other kid's strength, you know, is really important. And so I think that if I do anything right in this homeschool thing is actually paying attention to them. And so the weekly checklist really helps me see like a rounded view of the things that they're getting through well, and the things that they're not, and their behaviors, because those things are normally related. You know, like when if my oldest is really struggling in math, you know, because that stuff is really easy to miss. Because when you're working with the toddler and you're, you know, doing this with the other one, it's really easy to have another kid go under the radar. But I think that when I take a moment to just quickly fill out the checklist, okay, he made his way through most of his math. You know, he breezed through that math, or, oh, he was struggling in math. He was on that page for like ever, you know, and so I don't give a check there. And I see a whole week of not many checks in math. And then I also see that I marked him at like a 3 in attitude and behavior. Normally I find some type of like correlation between those things. Does that make sense? So sometimes I think we have so many things going on, like meals and activities and all that other stuff, we can miss that stuff. But when I track those types of things, it helps me to go back and see like as a whole, like, wait a minute, like something's going on. He must not love this, you know, or he must be struggling here, or, ooh, he had a really, I mean, his attitude was amazing this week. I gave him 5s on all this. He was really independent. And maybe that was a time where we did like a subject he was really good at, you know, but I think paying attention to that stuff and keeping track of that stuff really helps you move forward and pick the right things and choose the right path based on the individual child, which is like the whole reason why we love homeschool so much. But if we follow somebody else's track, then, you know, like, who are we servicing? Anyway, I think, let's see. Okay. I loved the video, the back from doing kindergarten too much longer. I love it. Okay. I think does anybody have any questions? I think I over-explained things, I think, this time. Let me see if anybody is check over on Patreon. It is a couple people. Can you guys still hear me? This is so hard. I wish you could talk back to me. Okay. Let me just make sure. Oh, you just, Jennifer, Tanya. They don't have a curriculum structure, just lessons, repetitive lessons. Okay, so Tanya says, so do one topic for the week. I'm using Abeka. They don't have, I'm reading this out loud because you guys know I only tried one other curriculum. I stick with what's working for me, and it just so happens that I didn't go through many to find what's working for me. So I'm not I'm not familiar with other curriculums. So just in case you guys are, that would be really helpful. But she said that she's using Abeka and they don't have a curriculum structure, just lessons, repetitive lessons. What are your suggestions? So I'm going to think about that. I guess off the top of my head, I would say to try and slow the lessons down and find other resources that can help you have more fun with those lessons. But that's like blindly giving advice because I can't see what the structure is like. But I think that sticking to one topic a week is a good start. Just to give yourself space to really wrap your mind around what it is you're trying to teach them and how you're going to work through it. What is twaddle? Okay. Oh, I guess I should have explained that. So twaddle is like, somebody help me. But basically the gist of it is twaddle is like a piece of literature where there's like a lot of potty talk or a lot of, silly things and maybe a lot of misbehavior and things like that. Just literature that's not really considered wholesome or teaching like whole lessons. So it's just like a lot of, I guess you would consider it fun stuff. To me, it's the same as watching certain television shows. Some things educate you and they're good to watch, and then lots of things are not. So I would imagine twaddle's like reality TV. I don't know. Somebody help. Let's see. Okay, what else? Zoom meetings is a live video conference tool. Oh, I'm gonna look into that stuff where you guys can actually talk back. Oh, you guys. Okay, so I haven't said this yet, and I'm gonna say this because I feel like this is my safe space. But I am gonna be at the Good and the Beautiful conference. They did ask your friend to speak. Okay, so pray. This is not something not that I don't want to say that I was interested doing. It wasn't one of my goals to speak anywhere. If you know anything about me, I'm not an in front type of person. I'm here for the children. I really am. I really like learning with them. I like this whole gig. I like being able to be creative in this space. When they reached out to me, I was really floored. Like and I didn't answer right away. I asked her if I could pray about it and get back to her. But now, I mean, I am excited because I do think that the Lord brings opportunities, your way to stretch you. And so I'm excited about that. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous. So pray for me. And if you're going to be there, I would love to know. Oh my gosh, that would make me so happy if you were there. Oh, that would be so much fun. So yeah, so that's one of my big things. I was going to make a video that just kind of threw out a few of the really big things that are happening this year. But like I said, I'm nervous. It's in Utah. But I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to keep chugging along, and it'll be what it is. And yeah. So yes, I will be there. Will I be doing a lecture? So I think I am doing, to be honest, I mean, I know this sounds really bad, but again, this is my safe space. I'm not exactly sure. I think they asked me to speak twice and then be on a panel. To be honest with you, once I decided to give my yes, I gave it quickly, so I didn't take it back. And then I haven't really thought about it again. So I'm going to be speaking twice, and then I'm going to have a panel. I don't even remember what I'm going to be talking about. I think one of my talks is going to be authenticity in your homeschool. And the other one is about documenting your homeschool. And then I think the panel might be on fears. So don't hold me to it. I'll announce it correctly later when I figure it out. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm just more nervous than excited. We'll just pace ourselves and keep it moving. Will I have a video? Okay, so I don't know if they're going to do videos there. I plan on vlogging though. That is my plan. So I plan on taking you guys with me because I think that I was a little bit nervous. Someone else is, Ashley from Grace and Grit is going to be there. So that's going to be exciting. I get to meet her there. And she made an announcement and she's super excited. And I had to turn to Brian. I was like, Brian, I'm not that excited. So, you know, we all have different personalities and different things that we feel like we were meant to do. This is not one of them, but I'm open. I'm open to the opportunity and I'm super excited to meet people and I hope I don't fall. Okay. I hope I don't fall. Anyway, you guys, I think I made it through and I wasn't too chit-chatty. It's been an hour and a half. That's pretty good, right? It's been an hour and a half. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to say. Those are pretty much my plans for February. I'm really excited about it. I'm excited about coming back and telling you how, you know, math boot camp went because honestly, I'm really proud of myself for not letting the challenges that I was having with math with my oldest get in the way, because before that would have become huge homeschool mom guilt. Like, you're not doing this right. You're too busy doing this, this, and that. And if I've learned anything, it's that guilt is such a wasted emotion. And one thing I've really learned to do is to assess that guilt right away. Like go at it head on. Whatever you're feeling guilty about, you have to decide, okay, is this real or not? And so for me, I was like, okay, well, is my issues that I'm having with math with my oldest, are they real? Yes, they were. They were definitely real. And so once I decided that it, you know, I found that it was real, I had to say, well, what is my solution? What am I going to do about it? Math boot camp. So my solution was I took that month to assess the things that he was struggling in. And then I scheduled time that we were going to do math boot camp and we're going to get that done. So I'm really proud of myself because, like I said, in the past, I would have just sulked there, you know, like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm horrible. And, you know, I'm on the internet telling everybody to be a homeschool mom. And my kid over here doesn't know what area is. But the reality is that, you know, sometimes we have holes and sometimes things, you know, kids miss things or they forget things or whatever. And so just to really figure out what the truth is and then tackle what that is, you know, because instead of just sitting there forever, it's all about learning, growing, and, you know, giving yourself space to learn and to grow. You get the schedule wrong this week, figure out what the problem is, make a plan for next week, see if that works. If it doesn't work, make another plan and then see if that works, you know? And so I'm trying to really get in that rhythm and not waste my energies. I'm trying not to waste my energies on stuff that's going to get me nowhere. Did you do any entries for their video contest? I'm not exactly sure what you mean, Molly. Help me out. I guess I didn't then if I didn't know what it was. Oh, you can't leave the kids. That's okay, because I'm gonna vlog. I don't know how much they're gonna want me to film about it, but I'm totally vlogging. You're totally coming with me. Yeah, it would be so much fun. Okay, what else was I gonna say? I said that about, there was something else, you guys, I wanted to say. I said about guilt, and then I forgot. Anything else? I think I'll give myself like 5 more minutes. And if you have to leave, it's okay. It's okay. It's going to record the whole thing. And so you can see the last 5 minutes later. So, yeah, it would be really nice. I'm going to go back through these comments to see who's coming. But that would be like, so you guys would make me feel so good about myself if I saw you. I think that Ashley is also trying to do a meetup. So she's going to help me get that together because, you know, your friend's too nervous to actually do that. Yeah, I think I'm done, you guys. I think I'm done. Let me double check with my patrons just in case. I will get the winner out to you. I'm really excited about doing the giveaways, you guys. You guys are so nice Like you leave me so many comments and messages and things to say the sweetest things, which makes me so happy because it really is difficult to do YouTube, and to feel like you need to have a ton of numbers and things like that. It takes up a lot of my time and energy, but I like it. And I wanted to make sure I was being intentional and having good connections and things. And you guys have been an answer to prayers. So I'm really excited about that. Thank you for giving me space to grow over here and to learn and things like that. The shirt size emails coming soon. Okay, so the shirt size is going to be in the survey. So I'm going to send out a survey that's going to that way I can have on file that will give me some bits and pieces and information about you. So like your favorite color and things, so that I can use that when I want to send out packages and things like that. So I'm going to collect all that stuff that I want to ask from you guys and send it in a link to a survey, and then I'll be able to do that. So, oh girl, you coming to my house. Just make sure you let me know. So make sure it's clean. Everything is clean. So that would be exciting. I'm very, very excited. And I think I'm done. Field trip to Ollie's. Oh my gosh, that would be so much fun. That would be so much fun. Oh, really? In Bridgewater. I have to figure out how far away is that? I'm not sure. Okay, you guys. Okay, I think my energy has died down. I probably need some coffee now. But I'm hoping that I answered everybody's questions, and I hope you guys are actually ready. I am really living for these little sneak peek photos you guys are sending me. So of your like space, saying that you're ready and stuff. I want to get something together that's a little bit more consistent and things, and that will come. But when you guys send me that, when you send me like pictures of your spaces, or you're ready in the morning or something like that, I love that. I love that. I would like to do that more. So anyway, thank you guys so much. I think I'm going to sign off now. This is when I wish I could hear everybody say goodbye to me. If you have any more questions, please let me know, or just things you want to say or stuff you want to chat about, because it's so much. I have so much that I want to talk about. So much to talk about. You guys are have been so kind and really helpful. I've experienced a few negative things from this YouTube land space lately, and I'm really learning. Like, you guys are just so overwhelmingly positive and excited with me that it really helps me to block out those things and keep moving. So I really do appreciate it. Sometimes I hate. I mean, I don't hate. I don't always get back to you to let you know how much I'm gushing over the fact that you take the time to encourage me or to say nice things. But I really am grateful for that. And that type of stuff really does help us keep going and move past whatever negativity may be coming, or just negativity coming from your head or whatever else. Bye. Bye. You guys are going to have a great February, and I'm excited to experience it with you. So bye.